Have you ever felt like you are always studying, watching a lot of tutorials and seeing other people make things look so simple and easy to follow, but the moment you try to do something on your own, you just get stuck? Everything makes sense while you are watching, but as soon as you try yourself, your mind just go blank. If that sounds familiar, maybe the problem is not what you are studying, but how you are studying. And today I want to talk about how the brain learns and why we sometimes forget things so quickly. I will also share a few simple strategies that I use that can help you to learn faster, remember more, and keep the knowledge for the long term. Let's talk about why so many of us stay stuck in the first place. So most of the time we learn things passively, watching tutorials, reading articles, taking courses, and it feels like we're making progress, but real learning isn't just about consuming the content. It really happens when you take action, when you try, make mistakes, and keep going until you finally get it right. The problem with the passive learning is that you start to recognize things, but when it's your turn to do it, you just freeze. It's like watching someone play guitar and thinking, oh, okay, I got this. But then you pick up the guitar and suddenly your hands don't know what to do. So the real learning takes more than just watching. It requires your full attention, effort, and repetition. You have to move from simply consuming the content to actually creating and applying it. And now that you understand the problem, let's talk about what does work. Here are 5 simple strategies that can completely change the way you learn, whether it's programming, a new skill, or even a hobby. Clarity, small goals, and direction. The first thing that really changed how I learned was getting clear on why I was studying in the first place. I know it sounds cliche, but you have to define what your goal is. Do you want to become a front-end developer, a back-end, a CTO, build your own software as a service? Having this answer will help you focus on what actually matters, so you don't waste the time learning things that you're not gonna need and mastering nothing. Once you are clear on your direction, you can break it down into small achievable steps. For example, once I knew where I wanted it to be in 10 years, I knew the things I needed to study to get there. I knew I had to improve my English, my communication, my technical skills, like get better at AWS, but I didn't try to learn everything at the same time. I simply started small. This week I will focus on EC2, the next week I will dive into networking, then I will move on to storage with S3 buckets, and so on and so forth. But the idea is that you have to get to see yourself as a project in progress. Each week, month, or quarter can have a different focus, and that's okay. The key here is to prioritize what makes the most sense right now and take it one step at a time. This mindset made everything feel less overwhelming for me. Every small win gave me a real sense of progress, and that progress is what kept me motivated to keep moving forward. The next strategy is the active recall. This is another powerful strategy to test yourself. Try to remember what you have learned without looking at your notes or rewatching the video. When you explain something in your own words, it forces your brain to really process the information, and it is way more effective than just reviewing the same content over and over again. Think of this like trying to cook a dish without checking the recipe. That's when you truly find out what you remember and what you have forgotten. This kind of active recall not only strengthens your memory, but also shows you exactly where the gaps are so you can fix them faster. The third thing is the spaced repetition. This one is about timing. Instead of reviewing something once and moving on, come back to the content after a few days. When you review the content in spaced intervals, it helps your brain to retain the information for much longer. It's like when you are trying to learn a new keyboard shortcut. When you first learn one, you might use it for the first week, but if you go weeks without it, you ended up forgetting. However, the more you use it over time, the more natural it becomes. And you can use whatever works for you. You can use a flashcard, notes app, documentation, video, or any tool that you like. Just make sure that you are revisiting the important stuff regularly. That's how you turn short-term learning into real knowledge. The fourth strategy is build your own projects. This is one of the most important steps in my opinion. Learning something new is great, but if you don't use it, your brain starts to forget very fast. And the best way to lock in that information is by applying in a real situation. Even in a small way. When I want to learn a new technology, the first thing that I usually do is check out the documentation or watch a quick demo. But if I really want to understand how it works, I have to get my hands on. I follow the quick start guide. I try to use it in a small personal project, even if it is something very simple. It doesn't have to be perfect or big. The goal is really to force the brain to retrieve that information and use it in a real world scenario. So the more you use it in real situations, the more your brain sees this information as valuable and says, okay, this is worth remembering. Lastly, teach what you have learned. One of the fastest way to know if you really understand something is try to teaching it. Very often I catch myself thinking I've learned something until I try to explain to someone else. Then I start mumbling, lose track of my train of thoughts, and I realize I didn't actually get it as well as I thought. And for that, you don't really need an audience. Just try to explain out loud like you're talking to a friend, and sometimes I even challenge myself to break it down in simple terms, like I'm talking to a 10-year-old or someone completely new to the topic. And if you can explain clearly without getting stuck, you probably understand it well. But if you struggle or can't find the right words, that's a sign you probably need to review a bit more the content. And you can also try to record short videos, write an article about it, or even using AI tools to test your explanation. But the idea is that teaching forces your brain to organize the information, which helps you remember it better and spot any gaps. And at the end of the day, it's not about studying more, it's about studying in a way that works for you. And the only way to figure it out is by trying, practicing, and adjusting as you go. Just keep in mind that learning is not about a rush through, it takes time, and with the right strategies you can make it easier and actually enjoy the process. And if any of this helped you, let me know in the comments, how do you like to study? I would love to hear your approach. And if you find this content useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any next content. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.